Hi, welcome to the Hallmark Guy podcast. I am Baptiste, the Hallmark Guy, and I am back with the new 2026 Winter Escape Hallmark Channel movie recap and review. This time talking about Love on the Amazon, which premiered on Saturday, January 17th at 8, 7 Central on Hallmark Channel as part of Winter Escape. It starred JC Elliott in her return to Hallmark Channel after her last movie, Joyeux Noël, in 2023. And Rafael de la Fuente, also back after his last and only Hallmark movie, Letters to Santa, also in 2023, both count on Christmas 2023. Although I'm not sure that Letters to Santa was really produced by Hallmark. It was the year of the strike, and I'm and Hallmark has done it non-strike here as well, but it didn't feel much like a Hallmark movie. Even the poster feels this says Hallmark on it, but it doesn't look too much Hallmark. So to me, it feels like Hallmark bought it after it was produced. But who knows? I can't. I'm not sure about that, but that's my opinion. Before we get into the recap, I'm back in my living room after a month, and without Christmas decor. I'm sad. And a new winter background that hopefully you can see. It doesn't seem like it shows too much. But without further ado, let's get into the movie. So the movie starts with Claire, who is, I believe, homesteading her sister's Amelia apartment, and keeping her updated on whether she received a letter about a grant. She did, but Claire grant her fellowship, kind of same thing. She did, but Claire dropped the letter without noticing, and when she realizes her sister only has 1 week to fill out paperwork, but she is doing research in a remote part of the Amazon, and no one can reach her. So Claire decides to go bring her the letter in person, which her father doubts she will be able to do because she's scared of snakes and spiders and all that stuff. But she decides to go and books a captain, Danny. But when she gets to Brazil, Danny refuses to bring her because he only does delivery. So she decides to take a cruise, but when she realizes it will take too long, she hops off the boat and she sees Danny at the same port. Danny needs money to repair his boat, so Claire tells him that she has the money if he agrees to bring her, which he finally agrees. She gets on the boat with him, but his crew is not that pleased. Um, and after multiple endeavors with the boat, because Danny agreed to make dangerous detours for Claire, especially since when they got to where Amelia was supposed to be, she wasn't there and they had to go somewhere else, one crew member quits, leaving Claire to say that she will pass the test and replace him, which she manages to. During the trip, Claire and Danny get closer, and we learn that Danny knows Amelia and was supposed to work with her, but had to take over his dad's business, and he thinks he disappointed her. After hiking in the jungle, they make it to Amelia, and she sends the papers in time. Amelia asks Claire about Danny, and she tells her that there is nothing there, plus she has to go back to her life as a vice principal, which Danny overhears, and he is hurt, so he decides to leave. But right after he left, Claire realizes how much he means to her and how much she enjoys being on the Amazon, and she goes after him on a small boat, catches him, he stops the boat, and they kiss. Later at a party, Amelia asks Danny to work with her, to which he agrees, and Claire tells Danny that she's taking a leave of absence and will be staying with him. And they kiss, and that was Love on the Amazon. So, as usual, we will start with what worked for me, and what worked for me is JC Elliott. I really like her. I especially love her Christmas movie, My Southern Family Christmas, from a few years ago, and wasn't a big fan of the movie, but I mean, it was shot in France. Story in itself wasn't bad. I enjoy Noel. So yeah, I like her. She's a good actress. And the fun fact is that she grew up in my French hometown of Grenoble, which is insane to know that someone who grew up there is on Grey's Anatomy and on Hallmark. So I mean, who knows? We all have our shot. But this funny connection that I have with her, and yeah, she's a good actress. I like her movies. I was excited to see her back on Hallmark, and I'm hoping that she will do more. And I'm sure I've seen scenes with her on Grey's Anatomy. So yeah, that was what worked for me. Was JC and the effort for the scenery. I'll talk a little bit later in what I did not like about the visuals, but I mean, they still I don't know if they really shot it in the Amazon, but it looked like it. They went there. They shot on a boat. They were there. Probably not the easiest shooting conditions all the time. So I appreciated that, and that worked for me. The issue is those are the only two things that work for me. So now let's get into what I did not like. And what I did not like is the movie. Um, I'm not gonna say I was bored, but I wasn't interested. I wasn't drawn in. I wasn't rooting for the characters. Um, I did not see their relationship develop to the point where like I'm in love with him or I'm in love with her. I did not see their chemistry, and I did not see a character development, unless I missed it, for Claire's part, where you get to the point of I'm going to drop everything and I'm going to stay on the Amazon. I did not see what truly led to that decision. Sure, she's not happy with her vice principal job. She's not spending time with the students anymore. She saw a local school on the Amazon. She saw locals, all that. I get that. But I did not really see much of that development of I'm staying there. Um, so that, and maybe that would have drawn me in a little more, especially their chemistry. And to add to the character development and character characteristics, unless I missed it, also, she loved books. She read so many books, and books were a big part, scenes with her reading books. Um, and I don't feel like, not that it wasn't necessary, but that it was there, but we didn't really know why. And she brought a lot of books to her sister. And again, I could have missed it, but yeah, I didn't see much of the point. So that's a big part, probably the bigger part, because the other one I can look past it. But I talked about the scenery, the things though with that's not scenery. Is the on production side, and I know they do what they can with the money they have and the time they have. But the scene in the rapids, kudos to JC for doing all the moving, but like it looked bad. And then with the guy that I cannot remember, that the guy that quits, the crew member that quits at some point in the movie, and I'm just googling. Hopefully, it will come out on Google to see the name of that character that quits. He's at the front of the boat uh, when they're in the rapids, and they're, I think it's Bruno. So it's Bruno, and he's at the front of the boat, and water is splashing, and water is fake, and it looked fake. And then when they're going to the second location to find Amelia, and Claire's like, it's on this map, and then the map flies away, and I was like, it didn't look real. There wasn't really much wind, and I was like, oh, it's there to be there. And I was like, okay, it's there to create drama and to create a problem. But then she has the map on her phone, so like, okay, there wasn't much necessary. So yeah, I I did not, and I didn't. It's not that I didn't like it, but like it was jarring a little bit. But again, they do what they can with what they have and the time that they have. And I respect that. And finally, I didn't see much of the point of Millie, sorry. I mean, at first, because she was like, no English. No English. I was like, oh, it's easy for her to learn her lines. But then she developed into worse things. But at first, I was like, is there a point to that character? So yeah, that's what I did not like. Some things to point out. I was happy when she got on the boat, she got on the cruise, and we see Juliana Wimbles, who plays Lisa in the Murder She Baked Hannah Swinson movies. And I was like, oh, it's so cool. She's gonna be like a secondary character, like a friend in it. Sorry. And she had one scene. I was like, what was the point? And also, did they fly her to Brazil to film that scene? If they filmed in Brazil, but I think if they filmed there. Like, what was the point of that? I was so excited, and then we never saw her again. So yeah, one thing to point out. Second thing to point out: the boat that they take to get to Amelia. You are seeing so close to the water that that much is coming out of the water of the boat. And there are three people on that boat. How are they standing on that boat? I was like, I would be so scared, and I was like, "How is water not coming in that boat? There are three people. How is that thing floating? That much is coming out of the water." And then she takes the boat to go after Danny, and she's jumping. I'm like, "Don't jump on the boat! That thing is barely above the water." So like that's a scary boat to take. So yeah, some things to point out. And final thoughts. It's gonna be a short episode. Not a memorable movie. I was at first I said two, and then should I do one and a half? And then I was like, well, maybe one because I didn't really have a good time. So I'm sitting on 1 star right now. Maybe it will change. Maybe it won't. Probably won't because I don't really go back. But yeah, 1 star. Winter Escape had started so well. The first two movies were so good, and I was really hopeful because again, I don't usually like Winter Escape, even though it's the second year. I don't like the the idea of Winter Escape. I'm not much of an international movie location thing. But the first two were so good and interesting. This one was disappointing. Hopefully, the two that we have left will be better. So that is it for this episode. Again, a short one, but again, I didn't have much to say about the movie. Follow the Hallmark Guy podcast on Instagram. Subscribe, comments. Tell me what you thought of the movie. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.